I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Score another big victory for the Department of Justice in their prosecutions of January 6th insurrectionists, and particularly those involved in one of the most heinous and despicable acts that are possibly charged. That is the act of seditious conspiracy. And previously, the Department of Justice prosecuted Stewart Rhodes and Stewart Rhodes' sidekick, Kelly Meggs, and received two seditious conspiracy convictions back in the fall. And now on Monday, another successful prosecution of three Oath Keepers and one individual affiliated with the Oath Keepers. So four individual Oath Keepers or Oath Keeper affiliates have been convicted of seditious conspiracy, in addition to a number of other criminal counts, carrying with it very serious prison sentences. And in addition to the seditious conspiracy count, all four of the defendants were also convicted of conspiracy to obstruct official proceedings, obstruction of official proceeding and aiding and abetting, and conspiracy to prevent members of Congress from discharging their constitutional responsibilities. The prosecutor for the Department of Justice in this Oath Keeper seditious conspiracy case was Luis Manzo, who pointed to the fact that these individuals were involved with Stewart Rhodes and others to actively try to overthrow our democracy. The defense tried to argue that while you may hear very bad things about the Oath Keepers, there's no evidence of an actual conspiracy to overthrow the government. The jury very quickly here agreed with the Department of Justice, and here we saw all four of the criminal defendants guilty of seditious conspiracy. The individual defendants, just so you know who they are in the Oath Keepers hierarchy, you've got Robert Minuta from New Jersey, who was considered to be one of Stewart Rhodes. Stewart Rhodes is the leader of the Oath Keepers, one of Stewart Rhodes' most trusted men and advisors. That's how I think Stewart Rhodes referred to Robert Minuta. Also convicted of seditious conspiracy was Joseph Hackett, who was a recruiter of the Oath Keepers from Florida. Also, David Morshall, who was one of the individuals involved in the stack formation battering ram to try to do the initial push into the Capitol building during the January 6th insurrection, as well as one other individual, Edward Venho, who was part of the armed quick reactionary force that was there on January 6th to try to overthrow our democracy here in the United States. So back in the fall, you'll recall that there was a group of Oath Keepers who were tried. Only two were convicted of seditious conspiracy, Stewart Rhodes and Kelly Meggs, who were at the top of the leadership. The other Oath Keepers, there was about three others in that group, managed to convince the jury there that they weren't involved in the seditious conspiracy plot, although they were all found guilty. All five of the defendant Oath Keepers back in the fall trial were all convicted of obstruction. The obstruction charge carries with it a 20-year prison sentence, as does the seditious conspiracy. So still, all of the Oath Keepers back in the fall trial received convictions on very serious charges that'll put them in jail for a very long period of time, but only two were found guilty of seditious conspiracy. One of the things I've talked about here on the MeidasTouch Network is how the Department of Justice would likely learn some of the lessons in how that trial went to try to perfect the way they present seditious conspiracy charges to the jury in this most recent case against the Oath Keepers, as well as against the Proud Boys. So as the Oath Keepers are being convicted by the jury on Monday, let's not forget that the Proud Boys seditious conspiracy trial is taking place basically down the hallway in the same federal courthouse in Washington, D.C., in the D.C. federal courthouse. And so, as I predicted, the prosecutors were able to learn from what took place during the first seditious conspiracy trial, and here they went 4 for 4. All 4 of the criminal defendants, all convicted of seditious conspiracy. They have not been sentenced yet. There's a separate date for sentencing, and even Stuart Rhodes and Kelly Meggs and the first group of Oath Keepers have not been sentenced yet. They await their sentencing date. So to be clear, there's 3 different seditious conspiracy cases that are really going on, 3 main ones that have taken place. The Stuart Rhodes, Kelly Meggs one back in last fall, where Rhodes and Meggs convicted of seditious conspiracy, and all other Oath Keepers were convicted of obstruction in addition to Rhodes and Meggs. Then there was this other group of Oath Keepers. This trial has been going on now for a few weeks, and a jury verdict was just reached on Monday. All 4 convicted of seditious conspiracy, all 4 convicted of obstruction. At the same time, you have a Proud Boys seditious conspiracy trial taking place down the hall. The jury hasn't reached a verdict yet since evidence is still being put on in that case, but this obviously spells big trouble for the Proud Boys there, like Enrique Tarrio and others, who are looking at this fact that the Department of Justice very quickly now is getting these guilty verdicts of seditious conspiracy against these insurrectionists. So this will certainly frighten the Proud Boy terrorists who are currently being criminally prosecuted down the hall by the Department of Justice. Who it also should terrify is Donald Trump and Trump's inner circle, now that the Department of Justice is getting all of these wins for these very rare seditious conspiracy charges. And a lot of the defense that Stuart Rhodes is putting on, and even Oath Keepers in this trial and the Proud Boys in their trial, is that we were waiting on Trump. We believed that we were in on this with Trump. And as the name of the crime, conspiracy, suggest, conspiracy involves multiple people. And one of the things that the terrorists are blaming their own conduct on is Donald Trump. So this all links to Donald Trump. And as I've said, when the Department of Justice has been prosecuting these cases, first they started with the lower level individuals, then the more violent insurrectionists, then the terrorist organizations for seditious conspiracy, and then next they're going to go to Donald Trump and Trump's inner circle. So when this handoff for Merrick Garland is made to special counsel Jack Smith now sees and has learned all about the success of the Department of Justice prosecuting these individuals for seditious conspiracy. All of that evidence has been put forward. They've seen what works with the jury, what doesn't work with the jury. And this is how you do a mafia-style prosecution. You climb to the top. So people like Mark Meadows and Jeff Clark and Rudy Giuliani, and others in Trump's inner circle who were involved in the insurrection, they got to be looking at, wow, seditious conspiracy count 20 years, obstruction 20 years, obstruction conspiracy 20 years, aiding and abetting 20 years. These people are going to be put in jail, the seditious conspiracy convictions, for the rest of their life. They're going to be put in jail for a very, very long time. So then you go to Mark Meadows and you go, look, you're next. You're up next. You think you're gonna win? Look what we just did to seditious conspiracy Oath Keepers 1, Oath Keepers 2, and Proud Boys. Get ready. And then someone like a Mark Meadows flips, or someone like a Jeff Clark flips, and then ultimately testifies against a Donald Trump to protect themselves, knowing that they may go to jail for the rest of their life. This is textbook how you do prosecutions like this. So a great day at the Department of Justice, a bad day for insurrectionists who want to overthrow our democracy. We'll keep you posted with more developments here on the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the subscribe button. We are on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your incredible support. So please hit subscribe now. And in addition, please check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We have a lot of exclusive content on Patreon. Over the weekend, we hosted a live Zoom where we answered questions from anyone who's a member of Patreon. We went over 3 hours answering questions. So that's one of the great features you can get there and have direct conversations with us in addition to exclusive content. And it helps grow this platform. So check it out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. You spell it PATREON.com/MeidasTouch. Check it out now. now. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas.
MeidasTouch is unapologetically pro-democracy. And look, we know you are too. So please make sure you check out our best-selling shirt and our best-selling gear, the unapologetically pro-democracy gear. And hey, while you're at it, make sure you check out my favorite shirt and one of our most famous designs. It wasn't rigged, you're just a loser. At store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.